Hello and welcome to week five's lecture. There are two core areas I want to focus on. One is the balanced scorecard, and the second is the certificate of need. So, the question I have for you as I open up is what type of tool can be used to document and track the multi-dimensional levels of performance toward a strategy over time? And one tool that can be used to achieve that is the balanced scorecard. It's really an integrated set of measures that are driven by an organization's vision and strategy. And these measures typically cover four key dimensions: finance, internal business processes, consumer, customer related issues, as well as growth. Keep in mind the balanced scorecard is not unique to healthcare. It is a smart way to do business in many organizations, health organizations that don't have a healthcare related mission, for-profit organizations use this balanced scorecard. It's a smart strategy. So as we think about the four dimensions, there's some key considerations that are important for each one of them. What's the objective? What are the KPIs, also known as key performance indicators? What about the initiatives that will be put in place to achieve those objectives? And what are the targets, which may be incremental, based on an incremental timeline? Depending on the measure, it could be a monthly target, it could be a weekly target, every other month target, a quarterly target. There must be targets. And then who's responsible? It's quite common as I look at balanced scorecards in different organizations, that piece is missing. It's very important. Who is responsible for the task? What's the accountable party? Who is it? And so what I've provided for you here is just a visual display, and you'll see green financial, the business piece here, learning and growth, orange, and then red is the customer. Different organizations have different language that they use, but what's important to recognize is that all of these are interrelated and equally important. That's why it's called a balanced scorecard. No one is more important than the other. In order to move the needle, move in the direction that the organization is striving for, each one of these you must see some movement and some improvement in each one of these areas. And what I've provided you here, this is just an example of an abbreviated version. Some organizations, well, sometimes you want to share your balanced scorecard, but the audience may not need all the detail. And so this is just a cheat sheet. And this would be good if you had a really large organization with lots of employees and you wanted to share what's important and what is the leadership measuring over the year or the next 2 years or 3 years. This is a way that you can disseminate that information. And you see they've used different language, but it's pretty much the same areas that I shared with you here. They just use the term clinical quality, financial viability, operational effectiveness, and customer loyalty. This is just a visual display of the scorecard. It's nice to have a nice colorful display that you can easily eyeball and say, wait a minute, we're not doing well with our vacancy issue. And so that can be used to kind of guide your conversation as you think about resource allocation and think about where you need to put resources to move the needle. In many organizations, the scorecard is actually shared with the board of directors, again, so that they can have a very easy report that shows how the organization is faring, because these are very important goals, and people's bonuses in many cases are associated with the achievement of these goals. So for the balanced scorecard, just in review, be sure you understand the purpose of it, what it's used for, the core areas, the premise of the balanced scorecard, and how it can be used to advance an organization's strategy. Let's move on to certificate of need. The certificate of need is a very interesting process that's important. And what it is, it's a legal document that's required in many states and some federal jurisdictions before a a health service can be developed, built, expanded, new facilities can be created. And the goal of the CON process is to prevent oversaturation of health services, to protect the viability of existing medical providers, and to, most importantly, ensure the health needs of the community. And so when it comes to ensuring the health needs of the community, the question is, if you want to, add a new pediatric wing, how is that filling a void? So if there's already enough within a certain geography, chances are the certificate of need will not be, or the request will not be granted. The CON also considers primary and specialty care services. Again, it's really, you want to do something for the community, you have to go through this process, justify why it's important, and demonstrate that you're filling a void. And this process is typically administered by states. I think there's 35 states that require a certificate of need. So the state, for example, in the state of Maryland, it's the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. There's a division that's responsible for this piece. And it's health officials and community members. They are the ones who contribute to the process. So most states have hearings where, let's say I'm the health provider and I want to build a new something. I have to attend a public hearing and share my proposal and answer questions and be prepared for opposition and be prepared to respond to opposing parties and their arguments. A lot of times the opposing parties are competitors that don't want you to move into their communities because they're concerned that it will impact their market share in a negative way. And so you have to be prepared for that. So that's the certificate of need. I provided you with a link to the CON for the state of Maryland. You don't need to click on all the tabs. Just click on that URL, read that one page, and scroll down to the pros and cons and take a look at some of the, what folks are saying are pros and cons that are associated with the CON process. My goal was just to provide you with an overview of the certificate of need and recognize when you're developing a strategic plan, especially if it's expansion of services, in your timeline, you have to build in time for the CON process. So the planner needs to know what the procedure is for the CON and how long it will take to have that decision. And that has to be integrated into the timeline. All right, so that's it for the lecture for week 5. Have a good week. Talk soon.